Captain Jake Morrison stood in front of the big screen on his spaceship. The screen showed a map of space with many stars and planets. Some planets looked blue, like Earth's oceans. These were called water worlds. Most aliens in space thought these planets were very dangerous. "The bird people won't even look at these planets," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez. She was Jake's second in command. "The rock people and the metal people also say these worlds will kill anyone who tries to live there." Jake looked at the blue dots on the screen. Each dot was a planet, covered mostly with water. The computer said these planets had names like Kepler 442b and Gliese 667cc. Other space people had written these worlds off as death traps hundreds of years ago. The human ship called Endeavour was flying through this part of space to make maps. Other alien races liked their planets dry and safe. They wanted planets that never changed much, but humans were different. They liked to explore places that others were afraid of. "Captain," called Ben Carter from his seat. He was the person who helped the ship find its way through space. "We're getting a message from the big alien council. They want to know what we're doing here." Jake raised his eyebrows. The alien council had 12 different alien races in it. They usually didn't care what humans did unless something important was happening. "Let me talk to them," Jake said. The screen changed to show an alien that looked like it was made of crystal. This was Ambassador Thyron from the Bird People. His face was hard and shiny like a diamond. "Captain Morrison," the alien said, "we know your people are looking at planets in this part of space. We want to tell you that these worlds are too dangerous for anyone to live on." "Thank you for telling us," Jake said politely. "But humans don't always think the same way as other people in space. We sometimes find good things in places that others think are bad." The crystal alien looked angry. "Captain, these worlds are covered with huge oceans. The air pressure would crush most smart beings. The weather changes all the time and can't be predicted. No smart race could ever build homes on such terrible worlds." Amy stepped forward. "Can I ask you something? Why do your people and others think water worlds are so scary? On Earth, we learned how to live with our oceans. We use them to help us." "Your home world has land you can stand on," the alien said like he was talking to a child. "These worlds are nothing but water everywhere. They mean chaos and death to anyone who tries to live there." After the alien stopped talking to them, Jake turned to his crew with a big smile. "Well, team, it sounds like we need to visit some planets. Amy, set our course for Kepler 442b. Let's see what everyone is so afraid of." The Endeavour turned toward the first water world. Jake couldn't help but feel excited. All through human history, the places that scared other people had often become humanity's greatest success stories. These huge oceans weren't problems to solve. They were chances waiting to be taken got as the ship flew through space, Jake thought about what the alien had said. The crystal people and all the other aliens were afraid of water. They thought oceans meant danger and death. But humans had lived near water for thousands of years. They had sailed across Earth's oceans long before. They could fly to other planets. "Jake," Amy said, looking at her computer, "I've been reading about these water worlds. The aliens think they're dangerous because they can't control them. Their cities are built to stay in one place and never move. But water moves all the time." "That's right," said Ben. "And their spaceships are made for flying in empty space, not for going underwater. They probably don't even know how to swim." Lisa Park, the ship's science officer, joined the conversation. "Captain, I've been studying the data we have about these worlds. The oceans aren't just water. They're full of life. There might be plants and animals we've never seen before." Jake nodded. "That's what makes this exciting. While everyone else sees death and chaos, we might find new kinds of life and resources that could help all of humanity." The crew spent the next few days getting ready to visit their first water world. They checked their equipment for exploring underwater. They tested their boats and submarines. They made sure their diving suits worked properly. "You know what I think?" said Chris Johnson, the ship's rock expert. "I think these aliens are missing something big. Water isn't just scary liquid. It's the most important thing for life. Without water, nothing can live." "And on Earth," added Amy, "our biggest cities were built near water. Rivers, lakes, and oceans gave us food, power, and ways to travel. Maybe these water worlds aren't death traps. Maybe they're the best places to live in the whole galaxy." Jake looked at the blue dot on the screen that was getting bigger as they got closer. Soon they would be the first humans to visit a water world. Other aliens had been flying through space for thousands of years, but they had never even tried to land on these planets. "Team," Jake said, "I think we're about to discover something that will change everything. If we're right about these worlds, humanity might have found its new home among the stars." The Endeavour continued flying toward the water world, carrying the hopes of the human race into the unknown blue depths of space. 3 days later, the Endeavour came out of fast space travel. The crew all came to the main room of the ship to see their first water world up close. Kepler 442b hung in front of them like a giant blue jewel. The whole planet was covered with deep blue ocean. Only white clouds and some storm systems broke up the endless water. "The air around the planet is good for us," said Science Officer Lisa Park. Her fingers moved quickly over her computer buttons. "There's oxygen like we need to breathe. It's almost exactly like Earth's air. The ocean is incredibly deep," added Chris Johnson, who studied rocks and planets. "Most places are 12 kilometers deep. Some deep parts go down 25 kilometers. The deepest parts of Earth's oceans would look like small puddles next to this." Jake studied the numbers on his screen with growing excitement. "Do you see any signs of life down there?" "Huge amounts of life throughout all the water levels," Lisa said with excitement. "Captain, there are so many different kinds of life here. This isn't just a water world. It's a living world full of creatures." The crew spent the next week studying the planet carefully. They sent small robot submarines deep into the planet's oceans. What they found changed everything they thought they knew about water worlds. The ocean currents create a stable weather system all around the planet, Chris explained during their daily meeting. The water acts like a huge heat storage system. It stops the temperature from changing too much. The weather isn't crazy and unpredictable like the aliens said. It's actually more stable than many planets with land. Amy pulled up detailed pictures of the ocean floor on the big screen. "We found several underwater mountains that come close to the surface. These would be perfect places to build floating cities. We could also dig for minerals in the deep parts. And the sea life," Lisa added with enthusiasm, "includes animals that could help us in amazing ways. We found creatures that can turn salt water into fresh water. There are animals that make their own light better than any machine we've built. And there are underwater plants that we could grow for food." Jake leaned back in his chair, thinking about what this all meant. So while other alien races see death and chaos, we're looking at a world with unlimited clean water, stable weather, endless energy, and resources we've never seen before. "Exactly," Amy agreed. "But there's more. The ocean gives natural protection from space radiation, rocks from space, and attacks from other spaceships. People living in these oceans would be almost impossible to attack from space." The crew looked at each other as they realized how important this was. Water worlds weren't just places where people could live. They were the safest and richest places in the galaxy. "Lisa, start making plans for our first colony," Jake ordered. "Chris, I want you to study the underwater mountains and valleys. Amy, let's start planning to visit the other water worlds in this part of space." Over the next few days, The crew learned more and more about the water world. They found that the storms weren't dangerous. Instead, they moved in patterns that could be predicted. The waves could be used to make electricity. The deep ocean had metals and minerals that were rare on other planets. "Captain," Lisa said during one of their meetings, "I think we need to change how we think about these worlds. The aliens see water as something to fight against, but we should see it as something to work with." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "On Earth, our best cities were built near water. Rivers gave us power for our machines. Oceans gave us food and ways to travel. Lakes gave us fresh water to drink. We never tried to get rid of the water. We learned to use it." Chris nodded. "And think about this. The aliens build their cities on solid ground that never moves. But what if we built cities that could move with the water? Cities that could rise and fall with the tides? Cities that could bend with the waves instead of breaking?" Amy got excited. "We could build floating cities on the surface and underwater. Cities in the deep parts. We could use the ocean currents to move our ships and submarines. We could farm the sea plants and fish. We could use the waves to make all the electricity we need." Jake smiled as he listened to his crew. They were starting to see what he had suspected all along. The water worlds weren't obstacles to overcome. They were opportunities that no other race in the galaxy had ever seen. "Team," Jake said, "I think we're about to make the most important discovery in human history. While every other intelligent race in the galaxy has been afraid of water, we're about to prove that water worlds are the best places to live." The next day, they sent a message back to Earth. Jake recorded the message himself. "Earth Command, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Endeavor. We have completed our first survey of the water world, Kepler 442b. I am happy to report that this world is not only habitable, but it may be the most perfect world for human colonization we have ever found." He paused, looking at the blue planet. On his screen, the oceans here aren't barriers to overcome. They're resources to use. This world has unlimited clean water, stable weather, renewable energy, and sea life that could feed millions of people. The ocean provides natural protection from space attacks and cosmic radiation. We recommend immediate colonization efforts." Jake ended the message and sent it toward Earth. It would take months for the message to reach home, and months more for a reply. But he knew that when Earth Command heard about what they had found, everything would change. As the Endeavor prepared to visit the next water world, Jake made a personal log entry. "The galaxy has been afraid of water worlds for thousands of years, but fear and opportunity often live in the same place. While other races avoided these worlds, humanity is about to make them our greatest advantage. We don't just survive in water. We make it our home." 6 months after Jake's team first found the water world, the first human colony ships arrived at Kepler 442b. The big ship, called USS Pacifica, was built specially for making homes on water worlds. It carried everything needed to build a floating city. Kate Murphy was in charge of the new colony. She stood by the big windows of the Pacifica, watching as the first pieces of their floating city were put into the ocean. Unlike other alien races, who built hard cities that never moved, these human cities were made to move with the ocean waves. "Atlantis Base is fully set up and working," said Chief Engineer Ryan Foster over the radio. "All the floating parts are stable. The machines that use the tides to make electricity are working even better than we hoped." Kate smiled as she watched the city grow bigger across the ocean surface. Each part of the city was connected by bridges that could bend with the waves. The city's foundation went deep underwater, held down by strong cables that could move up and down with the tides. "How are the underwater parts working?" Kate asked. "Better than we ever dreamed," Ryan replied. "The underwater gardens where we grow plants are doing great. The fish farms are giving us more food than we expected. The deep sea mining is digging up minerals faster than any land-based operation ever did. Dr. Helen Price, who studied sea life, came to stand with Kate by the windows. She looked very excited. "Kate, you have to see how we're working together with the sea animals. The creatures here aren't just living near our city. They're actually helping us take care of it." Helen showed Kate pictures on her computer of the underwater city parts. "See these coral-like creatures growing on our support beams? They're actually making our foundation stronger while they clean the water around our living spaces. And these schools of glowing fish have started swimming in regular patterns around our cities, giving us natural light for our underwater paths." Kate looked at the pictures with amazement. So the planet's sea life is getting used to us as much as we're getting used to it. More than that, Helen continued. The sea creatures seem to be helped by our presence. Our cities create artificial reefs that are actually bringing more different kinds of sea life to the area. We're not just living in peace with this world, we're making it better. Meanwhile, down in the ocean, Marine engineer Sam Collins was leading a team of divers building underwater roads between the floating cities. Using advanced submarines, humans were connecting their cities with tunnels and vehicle paths. That would have been impossible for any race that was afraid of deep water. "The pressure systems are working perfectly," Sam reported to Kate through underwater radio. "We can move people and supplies between cities at depths of up to 5 kilometers without any special pressure suits. The water pressure actually helps make our tunnels stronger." Back on the Pacifica, Kate got a message from the Alien Council. Ambassador Thyron's image appeared on the main screen. His crystal face showed confusion and worry. "Director Murphy, we have been watching your colony efforts on Kepler 442b. Our scientists cannot understand how your people are not only staying alive, but actually doing well in such terrible conditions." Kate pointed toward the window, where the floating city of Atlantis Base could be seen clearly. Its lights reflected off the ocean's surface as sea creatures swam peacefully around the underwater parts. "Ambassador, I think the main difference is that we don't see these conditions as terrible. We see them as helpful. Our cities are powered by the tides and waves. Our food comes from both the sea and our gardens. Our transportation systems use the ocean itself as a highway." Thyron's expression became more confused. "But the water, the unpredictability ... the lack of solid ground. The water gives us protection, resources, and stability," Kate explained patiently. "Our cities rise and fall with the tides, move with the currents, and bend with the waves. We don't fight the ocean. We dance with it." After the alien stopped talking, Kate turned to Helen with a knowing smile. "I think we're going to get a lot more attention from the space community. They're starting to realize that what they've been running away from, we've been perfecting." Over the following weeks, more parts of Atlantis Base were added to the ocean. The city now had homes for families, schools for children, hospitals for the sick, and factories that made everything the colonists needed. All of this was built to work with the ocean, not against it. The underwater farms were growing food that tasted better than anything grown on land planets. The fish farms were raising sea creatures that provided protein for the whole colony. The kelp forests that grew around the city cleaned the water and provided oxygen for the underwater living spaces. "Kate," said Ryan during one of their daily meetings, "the energy production is amazing. The tidal generators are producing more electricity than we can use. The wave capture systems are giving us power day and night. And the underwater thermal vents are providing heat for our deep-sea facilities." "What about defense?" Kate asked. "Are we prepared if other aliens decide they want what we have?" "That's the beautiful thing about these cities," Ryan replied with a grin. "If we're attacked, the entire city can sink below the waves. Our factories and homes can go underwater where no space-based weapons can reach us. And our submarines can attack enemies from below where they'll never see us coming." Helen added, "Plus, attacking our cities would be like trying to attack the ocean itself. We're so integrated with the sea life and the underwater environment that any major attack would damage the entire ecosystem. It would be like bombing nature itself." Kate nodded as she understood the full importance of what they had built. The first human water world colony wasn't just a place to live. It was a new way of thinking about civilization itself. Instead of fighting against nature, they had learned to become part of it. "Team," Kate announced, "send a message to Earth. Tell them that the first Waterworld colony is not just successful. It's revolutionary. We've created a new kind of human civilization that's stronger, more sustainable, and more defensible than anything built on land." As the message traveled through space toward Earth, Kate looked out at Atlantis space. Children were playing in the shallow pools between the city sections. Adults were working in the underwater gardens. Submarines were coming and going from the deep-sea mining operations dot and everywhere. The sea life of Kepler 442b was swimming peacefully alongside the humans, creating a harmony between civilization and nature that no other race in the galaxy had ever achieved. 2 years after the first human colony was built, the water world of Kepler 442b had become home to over 50,000 humans living in 12 connected floating cities. The success of the colony had not gone unnoticed by the aliens in space. Admiral Patricia Wells was now in charge of the human space navy in the Waterworld area. She stood in the command center of New Atlantis, the biggest floating city. The walls showed information from all the human Waterworld colonies, displaying population growth, resource production, and technology development that was better than anyone had expected. "Admiral," said Intelligence Officer Tony Martinez, "we're getting signals from many alien spy ships. The bird people, the metal people, and the crystal people all have ships at the edge of our star systems, watching our colonies." Patricia nodded seriously. "They're finally starting to understand what we've done here. Have any of them tried to talk to us directly?" 3 formal requests to visit our colonies, and 1 rather rude demand from the metal people for immediate technology sharing, Tony replied. Marine Colonel Frank Davis joined the conversation from his position at the War Planning display. "Admiral, we've seen several alien ships trying to build their own Waterworld colonies in nearby star systems. None of them are succeeding." Patricia brought up the spy footage on the main screen. The picture showed alien attempts at Waterworld colonization that were complete disasters. The crystal people's structures were being broken apart by waves. The metal people's platforms were sinking under their own weight. The bird people's installations were being flooded by the very water they were trying to keep out. "They're trying to build land cities on Waterworlds," observed Dr. Karen Roberts, the area's leading expert on alien behavior. "They're literally fighting against the basic nature of these planets, while we learn to work with it," Patricia added. "Frank, what's the status of our defensive abilities?" "That's the beautiful part, Admiral," Frank replied with a big smile. "Our cities can dive underwater to depths of up to 3 kilometers if we're attacked. Our transportation networks are completely underwater and invisible to most alien sensors. And our industrial facilities are so deeply connected with the ocean systems that any attack would be like trying to bomb the ocean itself." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from the Alien Council. This time, all 12 member races were represented in the holographic meeting. Their various forms created a diverse but clearly upset assembly. "Admiral Wells," began Ambassador Thyron, "the Alien Council demands an immediate explanation for humanity's rapid expansion into water worlds. Your people have built colonies on 17 worlds that were considered uninhabitable by Galactic agreement." Patricia stood calmly in front of the alien assembly. "Ambassador, we've built colonies on worlds that your people chose not to live on. We've broken no treaties and invaded no claimed territories. But you've gained access to resources and strategic positions that threaten the balance of galactic power, said General Vortex of the Metal People, his mechanical voice carrying obvious frustration. Your Waterworld colonies are producing energy, food, and materials at levels that exceed most land-based colonies, added Science Director Prism of the Crystal People. How is this possible? Patricia smiled, knowing this moment would decide humanity's future in the galaxy. The answer is simple. You've been avoiding the most livable worlds in the galaxy because you feared the water. Meanwhile, humanity learned to make the water our greatest friend. She pointed to the displays, showing thriving human cities, their underwater sections full of life and activity. Our cities don't just survive in the ocean, they improve it. Our energy systems use the power of tides and waves. Our food systems grow both sea and land crops. Our transportation networks use the ocean itself as a three-dimensional highway. But how do you handle the pressure, the storms, the unpredictability? Demanded Ambassador Thyron. We don't handle them. We use them, Patricia replied. The pressure powers our deep-sea factory systems. The storms provide energy for our weather capture systems. The currents transport our ships and move our resources. What you call unpredictability, we call renewable energy. The alien assembly became quiet as they realized what this meant. Humanity hadn't just colonized waterworlds. They had discovered a type of world that gave natural advantages no other race could access. Admiral, said General Vortex slowly, are you saying that humanity now controls the most defensible and resource-rich worlds in the galaxy? Patricia's smile got bigger. I'm not saying it, General. I'm stating it as fact. The meeting continued. For hours as the aliens tried to understand how humans had succeeded where they had failed. Patricia showed them videos of human children playing in underwater playgrounds, of factories that worked beneath the waves, of submarines that could travel between cities through ocean highways. Your people live underwater, said Ambassador. Theron with amazement. You breathe air, yet you have made the deep ocean your home. We use technology to create air-filled spaces underwater, Patricia explained. But more than that, we have learned to see the ocean as a living system that we can be part of, not something to conquer. And your cities move with the tides, added Science Director Prism. This is completely against our understanding of proper city planning. That's because your cities are built to resist change, Patricia replied. Our cities are built to adapt to change. When a storm comes, our cities ride it out. When the tides change, our cities move with them. When the currents shift, our transportation routes adjust. The aliens asked many questions about human technology, human society, and human thinking. They couldn't understand how a race that had only been in space for a few hundred years had mastered something that older races had never even attempted. The truth is, Patricia said as the meeting neared its end, you've been thinking about planets as things to be conquered and controlled. We think about planets as things to be partnered with and understood. The water worlds don't fight us because we don't fight them. After the meeting ended, Patricia turned to her staff. They're scared, she said simply. For thousands of years, they've divided up the galaxy based on who could claim and hold the best land-based worlds. Now they're realizing that we've claimed something they can't take away from us. Tony Martinez nodded. And something they can't even access. Even if they wanted to attack our colonies, they'd have to fight us in an environment where they can't survive. Frank Davis added, plus, our colonies are producing resources at rates that are making us the richest civilization in the galaxy. The aliens need what we're producing, but they can't make it themselves. Patricia looked out through the transparent walls of the command center at the thriving underwater city around them. Schools of glowing fish swam past the windows. Submarines moved through the water like underwater cars. Gardens of sea plants provided food and oxygen for the human residents. We've done something no other race in the galaxy has ever done. She sighed. We've found a way to live in harmony with an entire type of world. And in doing so, we've become the most powerful civilization in space. 5 years after the first human colony was built on Kepler 442b, humanity had changed how the galaxy thought about water worlds. What were once feared death traps had become the most wanted real estate in known space. The Human Sea Colonial Authority, led by Director General Alex Turner, now watched over colonies on 47 water worlds across 6 areas of space. Director Turner stood in the great meeting hall at Poseidon Station, humanity's first completely underwater diplomatic facility. The station was built 3 kilometers beneath the surface of Kepler 442b. The station's clear walls provided a stunning view of the thriving underwater world that had grown around the human colony. Glowing creatures provided natural lighting, and native sea animals swam peacefully alongside human vessels. Ladies and gentlemen, Turner spoke to the assembled crowd of human colonists, scientists, and military personnel. Today marks the 5th anniversary of our first water world colony. But more importantly, it marks the day humanity officially became the galaxy's ruling sea power. The assembly cheered loudly as Turner activated the holographic display, showing how far humans had spread. Blue dots, representing water world colonies, formed a network across the galaxy. They were connected by underwater transportation corridors and defended by submarine fleets that could operate in 3-dimensional space in ways that traditional space navies never could. Our colonies now produce 40% of the galaxy's energy through tidal and wave generation. Turner continued. Our underwater farms provide food security for over 10 million humans. Our deep-sea mining operations extract rare minerals that are essential for advanced technology. And our cities represent the most environmentally friendly colonial model in galactic history. Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Nancy Parker joined Turner on the stage. Furthermore, she announced, our underwater cities are effectively impossible to defeat. Any hostile force attempting to attack our colonies would need to fight us in an environment where we hold every advantage. The strategic implications were staggering. Traditional space warfare relied on bombing from orbit and attacking surface-based targets. But human water world colonies could sink their cities, hide their industrial facilities beneath kilometers of ocean, and fight back using underwater vessels that could approach enemy positions without being seen. The Alien Council has formally requested a new treaty, reported Foreign Relations Director Carl Jung. They want to establish rules for water world colonization and resource sharing. Turner's expression grew serious. And what are they offering? In return, recognition of human control over all current water world colonies, plus exclusive colonization rights to any future water worlds discovered, Carl replied. In exchange, they want access to our underwater technology and guaranteed trade agreements for water world resources. The implications were clear. The galactic community was formally acknowledging that humanity had claimed and successfully colonized the worlds that everyone else had abandoned. But they were also recognizing that humanity now controlled resources and strategic positions that could not be ignored. There's more, Admiral Parker added. Several alien races have asked permission to establish small research stations on our water worlds. They want to learn how we've achieved such successful integration with oceanic ecosystems. Turner smiled, remembering the early days when alien races had dismissed water worlds as uninhabitable nightmares. And what do our colonists think about hosting alien researchers? They're enthusiastic, replied Dr. Sandra Mitchell, the sector's leading marine biologist. Our colonists are proud of what we've accomplished, and they're eager to show the galaxy that humanity didn't just survive in the ocean. We made it better. The assembly concluded with Turner activating the new galactic communication network that connected all human water world colonies. The system used underwater quantum communication, relays that were invisible to traditional space-based sensors. This gave humanity a secure communication network that spanned the galaxy. Today, we officially announced the establishment of the Terran Maritime Alliance, Turner declared. Humanity has not only made waterworlds our home, we've made them the foundation of our future in the galaxy. As the ceremony ended, Turner looked out through the transparent walls at the thriving underwater ecosystem surrounding Poseidon Station. Schools of bioluminescent fish swam alongside human submarines. Underwater gardens provided food for both human colonists and native species. The ocean floor was dotted with human installations that had become artificial reefs, increasing biodiversity and creating new habitats for marine life. Over the past 5 years, humanity had proven that waterworlds weren't just habitable. They were superior to land-based worlds in almost every way. The oceans provided unlimited fresh water through desalination systems. The tides provided endless renewable energy. The three-dimensional nature of the ocean allowed for more efficient transportation and city planning. And the water itself provided protection from space-based attacks and cosmic radiation. "Director," said Admiral Parker, "we've received intelligence reports that some alien races are trying to develop their own underwater technologies. They're attempting to copy our methods." "Let them try," Turner replied. "It took humanity thousands of years to develop our relationship with water. We learned to swim before we learned to walk in space. We built boats before we built spaceships. We understood tides and currents before we understood gravity and orbital mechanics." Dr. Mitchell joined their conversation. "The aliens are making the same mistake they always make. They're trying to impose their will on the environment instead of working with it. They're building underwater cities that look like land cities, just with air bubbles around them. And they're failing," added Carl Jung. The Bird People's underwater base collapsed last month. The Metal People's submarine city is taking on water faster than they can pump it out. The Crystal People's deep-sea station shattered under the pressure. Turner nodded. "They're treating the ocean like an enemy to be conquered. We treat it like a partner to be understood." As the meeting continued, reports came in from human colonies across the galaxy. The water world of Aquatica had just completed construction of the largest underwater city ever built. The ocean planet of Pelagios had established the most productive sea farms in human history. The water world of Nereid had discovered new species of sea life that could revolutionize medicine and biotechnology. "The numbers are incredible," reported economic advisor Maria Santos. "Our water world colonies are producing more wealth per capita than any other human settlements. The abundance of resources, the efficiency of our three-dimensional cities, and the renewable energy sources are creating an economic boom that's affecting the entire galaxy." Turner smiled as he listened to the reports. The galaxy had spent millennia dividing up the habitable land-based worlds, fighting wars over planets with the right atmosphere and solid ground. Meanwhile, humanity had quietly claimed the water, worlds that everyone else had ignored. "And the best part," Turner said, "is that we're not just taking from these worlds. We're giving back. Every human colony has increased the biodiversity of its water world. We've created artificial reefs that support more sea life than the natural systems ever did. We've cleaned polluted waters and restored damaged ecosystems." The meeting ended with Turner making a final announcement. 5 years ago, we took our first steps into the galaxy's oceans. Today, we declare that humanity has found its true calling among the stars. We are not just a spacefaring civilization. We are a seafaring civilization that happens to travel through space. As the assembled humans cheered, Turner looked out at the thriving underwater world around Poseidon Station. The galaxy had feared the water worlds for thousands of years, seeing them as chaotic, hostile, and uninhabitable. But humanity had looked at the same endless oceans and seen opportunity, sustainability, and security. In making water worlds their home, humans had not only found their place in the galaxy, they had redefined what it meant to be a spacefaring civilization. The water worlds that others had feared were now humanity's greatest strength and the foundation of an empire that could rise and fall with the tides, but could never be conquered. From the stars, the ocean had become humanity's greatest ally and the source of their power in the galaxy. Where others saw chaos, humans had found order. Where others saw death, humans had found life. Where others saw impossibility, humans had found their destiny.